Hello, and welcome to the incredibly beautiful island of Santorini. Now, if you're interested in real estate and investing abroad, maybe owning a home in an incredibly beautiful place, or even retiring in the sun, well, today I'm going to share with you, based on our experience, top 5 pros and 5 cons of investing in real estate in Santorini. So if you're interested, join us. Here we go.
We are on a journey to find real estate deals in places of utmost beauty. Entry-priced luxury properties that are undervalued or deliver high short-term rental revenue, what we call Blue Vista properties. We've bought, sold, renovated or leased high-end properties or land in stunning locations around the world. Come with us as we explore new locations, develop new projects, explain our methodology, and share the learnings along our journey.
All right, so let's kick off with the top 5 pros, the top 5 reasons to consider investing in Santorini. So number 1, most beautiful island. It's considered one of the most beautiful islands in the world from many experts. If you look at the World Luxury Travel Experts, in 2021, it was ranked number 4 in the top 10 in the world after Kauai, Seychelles, and Maldives. So that gives you an idea. If you take Turopia, who features the most amazing sites in the world, it's ranked number 3 after Bora Bora and Maldives. I think you get the point. Now you might wonder, why is it considered so beautiful? You know, the landscape will just take your breath away. And I know I'm against the sun here with the sun setting and you can't really necessarily see so well in the background, but it's really unique. You have the caldera, it's up to 300 meters high, or nearly 1,000 feet, with the steep cliffs going right down to the blue Aegean Sea. And you can see that there. There was this huge eruption that took place. It's called the Minoan eruption in Santorini around the 17th century before Christ. And actually, some people think it inspired the legend of Atlantis. It was rated a 7, which is the highest score in terms of historical volcano eruption. And it was one of the largest volcano eruptions events actually on Earth in the human history. And what you have is, so you have these incredibly beautiful cliffs just going down to the water, and the little whitewashed villages sitting at the top, perched there with luxury hotels, beautiful restaurants, little stores. It's actually, it's what I would call just an incredibly beautiful Instagram place. You want to see it. If you tell anybody else about Santorini, they'll say either they've been there and they'll be like, wow, it was so beautiful, or it's on their bucket list, they want to go. So number 1 pro. All right, let's do the number 2 pro. The number 2 reason to look at investing. It's a top touristic destination and it has a long rental season. This is the most visited Greek island, and it's been growing year over year. From 2013, 2018, in fact, the number of tourists doubled. Right now, excluding cruise ship tourists, it's about 2 million tourists are visiting, coming every year. And it's really known around the world. In terms of rental season, you have approximately a 7-month rental season, you know, from April to about October, and there's still some business in November, and you also have, you know, the Chinese New Year in January, February, so it's really a long season. In many places around the world, if you're looking at doing short-term rental, in a summer destination, a beach destination, is a very short season. Some of the other islands that we compared to, we looked at the comps in terms of if you're going to do some short-term Airbnb or short-term rental business, they have much shorter seasons. Like the island of Paros is beautiful, but it's very short. Mykonos, very popular destination, also a shorter season. So that's very important to consider. So that was our number 2 pro. All right, let's move to number 3 pro, number 3 reason, costs. In fact, surprisingly, there's still some affordable options. As you know, at Blue Vista Properties, we're looking for affordable, or let's say where the comps in terms of the cost to acquire are actually interesting. Now, of course, it's a top destination, so it's a whole different range, but you're not looking, when you compare, I personally sign up to all sorts of channels. We receive we look at costs of real estate in, you know, Marbella, Ibiza, Côte d'Azur, south of France, all sorts of locations. And in fact, interestingly, you can still find some interesting prices where you can find a house. Of course, it will need to be a bit redone. It won't be overlooking the caldera, but you'll have some nice ocean views, and you can be looking 500, 700, 800,000. So, and also in terms of some plots of lands, we visit a whole series of plots. There's still some interesting deals to be found. Of course, if you're looking at something modern, on the caldera, overlooking the ocean, which is really the most desirable, then you'll be talking a whole different range. But also, if you look at, you know, food, I love the gyros here. Go into town, you know, €2.90. We had dinner with a friend the other night with two of us, or, you know, and it was €48. So unless, you know, there's of course a very fancy, schmancy, beautiful places, but it's actually quite interesting in terms of the cost. You can still find deals. You have to spend time looking. Not that easy, but it's possible. So the number four reason, here goes, you can hear a helicopter going by up there right above us. So I might just pause a second, let it go by. You can just look at the views. So, number four reason, Golden Visa, permanent Greek residency. This is very interesting. The Golden Visa program in Greece, it's an affordable real estate investment route to get permanent residency in Europe. It was introduced by the Greek government in 2013 to encourage people to invest in Greece. And you have to invest €250,000 in real estate, and it opens up. It's one of the lowest levels, in fact, in all of Europe, in terms of the schemes. And it can be property, it can be residential, it can be commercial. You can buy a bunch of properties, group them together. The minimum investment is €250,000. The resident permits allows you to live in Greece and travel around Europe, but not work. However, you can set up a business. So that's a very interesting, and there's a lot of people who come and snatch up a small little house, beautiful, €350,000, little 1-2 bedroom, and to get the, you know, there's some conditions, you can look into it, but they can get the residency. So that's great. And finally, the number five reason I'm going to share today, based on our experience and our analysis of the market, is the growth potential. So number five reason is growth potential. There's nothing like Santorini in the world. It's unique, and unique places, beautiful places, will continue to attract investors, attract interest, and attract people. The size, it's 76 square kilometers or 29 square miles. That's small. There's just so much space. You can't keep building, and there's a lot of restrictions on where you can build, where you're allowed to build. So in fact, the fact it's an island by nature limits the amount of new build you can do, and therefore that means high demand, limited supply. There's great growth potential, and I really, looking at the comps to other places, I can really see that there's a big potential for capital appreciation. Okay, so you're excited. You say, where do I sign? I want to invest. All right, so you heard the pros. Now let's move to the cons, the negatives. So number one con, finding trustworthy experts. You need to find people who know the rules and can get things done, because it's complicated in Greece. And you're going to come across a lot of what we call, or so-called experts, people who want to be involved in the project. They tell you how it works, and you realize that in fact you're getting misled, and a lot of information might not be correct. And you can come across, in fact, quite unprofessional people as well. There's some great people, but also, you can, like anywhere in the world, you can come across some crooks or unprofessional. Just give you one example. We came, we had identified and contacted one real estate agency, sent them 5 emails about specific plots that we were interested, never heard any response. So I went personally, went to their office, went inside. They put some very young, inexperienced, I guess junior or intern, sat there in front of me, didn't want to show me the screen, and said, "Oh, can you please sign these papers?" Which was basically an exclusivity agreement where they would, anything I would look at or want to buy on the island, they would represent me. They didn't want to look at any, and I basically walked out of there. Now, don't get me wrong, there's some amazing people. It just takes time to find the right people with the right knowledge and the right attitude. So you need to have that those experts, and just beware. There's a lot of misinformation. People tell you things that are simply not true, and you really have to be careful. So that was the number one, finding trustworthy expert. The number one con. It's hard. Number 2 con: building rules, regulations, and procedures. Now, my oh my, it's complicated to navigate the rules and understand what can and can't be done. The whole permitting process for building or for renovating, when you compare to other countries, and we have experience in many countries, and despite the fact that's in the EU, it's complicated. And even when we're working with architects and they're telling us, well, it depends, on the interpretation of this rule, in a lot of other places in the world, it's just so straightforward. So you need to be aware of that. And there's a level of risk. You might be told you can do something, you go about, you spend a lot of money, and ultimately then you're told it was illegal and you're misinformed. Therefore, that's something. And again, why is it complicated? You also might find yourself, with properties, land we found somewhere, it was inherited generation after generation, so the great grandkids owned it. It was 12 people, so you had, the property was owned, everybody had 1/12, so you needed 12 people who all paid their taxes, and so there's a lot of paperwork required and checking and making sure, so just a lot of certain complexity around. So what we call the number 2 con, which is building rules, regulations, and procedures. All right, number 3, which is quite connected to number 1, is you need connections. Now, if you just think you're going to show up here, go with the first contacts, make it happen, and they're going to make it happen. Whoever you work with, they need broad connections to get things done. And when I mean broad connections, it's understanding how the island works, having connections across the board, also with all the departments like permitting, or you'll find yourself with long delays, misinformation. So that network of people that you have, they need to be connected. Here it's very, very important to have the right connections. Okay, number 4 con, and we're nearly there. Broad offer. Now I said it's a small island, right? So the offer is limited, but at the same time, 90% of revenue here is on tourism. So pretty much, and not everybody, but many people own a home, a small shack, a little cave. They're putting it on Airbnb, they're renting it out. So you're competing with a lot. And one of the key things is most people, if they have a choice, they would love to have this caldera view. Like, this is the view, this is the $1 million view, this is what people come for. And so what we're looking at this stage, because of the prices to own on the caldera, is we're looking on the agency, but on the other side, beautiful sea, island view, 10 minutes from Oya, 10 minutes from Thira, great places. However, you're not going to be on the caldera. You won't have that sunset view. So you're competing with them, right? So in our range, and you're competing with a lot of others who are on the market. So there is quite a big offer between the hotels and everybody who's renting out. So you need to be aware of that. And then number 5 con, I call it saturation. What do I mean by saturation? So in 2019, the mayor of New York, the mayor here told the New York Times that the island was saturated. If you look at the busiest months of July, August, it's packed, right? We right now, we'd gone, went to the taxi stand, waited 30 minutes. The people ahead of us were waiting for 30 minutes. There's 29 taxis for the island. Looked at renting a car, an ATV, it was a bit of a last minute trip, called 30 companies, all sold out. So it can get really busy. So if you're investing into a second home, holiday home, to retire, and you're here in the summer months, that saturation, driving around, traffic jam, people, that's a con. You might say, you know, I don't want to be in that amount of people. Now, if you're looking at doing short-term rental and you rent it out during those months, you get the great revenue, and you come in the lower off season, then, you know, it's not a problem. You rent out during the high season when it's packed, you come back, it's absolutely beautiful in, you know, the months of October, November, you know, January, February. So that's of course, then it turns the con into a pro. So I hope you like the top 5 pros and top 5 cons of Santorini. If you have questions, feel free to put them in the comment box. Please like the video, it helps the algorithm, and subscribe to the channel. We'll have a lot more videos coming about places like this, but also a lot of other places that we've done business in, that we've experienced in. And so please feel free to, if you have any questions, reach out to us. And again, you know, just this is one reason why people come here, this beautiful view. So thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll be seeing you soon.